balloons behind me. If you're wondering what's moving, because my incredible husband has gotten me balloons. Now, I am going to make some changes and we are going to make this actually live so you can see us. Nancy is not here yet, and she'll be here soon. Ready? Yay, Nancy! We are live. We are live with Nancy May, who has just jumped in. And I cannot see Nancy because we are having some sort of a strange issue. I don't know what is going on. It is so strange. But she is here, and we are going to figure this out with Dave, I think. So, Dave, if you have any ideas for us, Nancy is from Nancy. All right, Nancy is invisible. How are we going to? You can see. All right, I need to know. Let's see. I am going to go onto the channel. Dave, I need you to tell us, can you see Nancy sitting there looking beautiful as always? Let's see. I'm going to go to my channel on the computer because right now I'm on my phone and we're going to see what's going on. We're going to hear Judge Boyd say hello for a minute. Oh, maybe not. Oh, this is so interesting. You can't see Dave. That's so. All right. Dave said he can't see me either. So this is, you guys, we're learning. We're all learning. So who else is watching? I can see people are, we've got some people here and I'm just wondering, okay, we've got a Nancy, but I don't see myself moving. Oh, that is very fascinating. Okay, so I'm going to mute me so I can't see myself or hear myself, but I see me with the balloons. Thank you, Dave. That was so sweet. But I don't see a Nancy. In fact, I don't even see a spot for Nancy. So I can hear you. Hold on just a minute. Let's see if got a Nancy, but I don't see myself moving. Hold on, let's see. Let's see this. Now you can hear me repeating myself. I can't see myself or hear myself, but I see me. Let me see if I see. Thank you, Dave. That was so sweet. So I can hear you. Hold on just a minute. But nobody can hear you. All right. This is a problem because I've got my Nancy here and we cannot see her. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to get creative. We're going to get really creative. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to use my other phone. Dave's going to bring my other phone because I have a Samsung and Nancy has a Samsung. And we're going to make it so you can see Nancy. We're also going to bring her back at Christmas because Nancy has a book. It's a cookbook and it's coming out and you're all going to love it. In fact, we're going to bring her back, I think actually next month because we want you to all see Nancy's book because it's really incredible. And Dave's going to come in here in a minute or send one of the kids in, whoa, with the phone. And I'm going to, we're gonna get real creative, Nancy. We're gonna make this happen. All right. This is the wrong phone. This is my dead one. I'm so sorry. It's the gray one. Anyway, um, it's okay. Just have the kids do it. Anyway, Nancy has written this book and it is really incredible. All right, Nancy, we cannot see you at all. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. No one else can hear you. Just I can. So but that's okay because what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my guest on my phone and I'm going to hold her up and we're going to engage that way. Because can you do video calls? You can do video calls on Samsung, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to be creative. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to have Nancy hang up. I'm going to call her on my work phone. Thank God I have an Apple phone and a Samsung phone, so I can cover everybody. And while you're gone, I'm going to do an unboxing because I have a thing to unbox. So we'll just do that. There we go. It's going to be perfect. What's that? What? Just do like. Well, we're already. We got this, I think. Yeah. Okay. We're just being really creative. Or we could jump off and jump back on again. But let's see. This is a really interesting thing. Also, we only have a couple of people. There's only a couple of people here, which is also interesting. All right, Nancy, I'm gonna call you. and we're gonna figure out what's going on. We are gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be creative. Okay, bye. All right, everybody. We are gonna see Nancy in just a few minutes. And until then, I have had the coolest thing happen. So, as part of my YouTube program, I got invited to be able to get some things. And if they work, I get to tell you about them. And if they don't work, I'm going to tell you not to use them. And the first one is this thing. And so I thought I would unbox it live because why not? And also, oh my gosh, I have in my lap. This is bougie. She says fabulous because it's Halloween. And Louise says hi. Anyway, she's right here. So if you see something moving around, it's a Libby. Oh, well, she wants to climb up on my neck, but not right now. She thinks she's a parrot. When we drive in the car, she literally tries to sit up on my shoulder. Okay, so we're going to unbox this thing and see what we got. The people here, it's the company's name is Tymo, and they have been the sweetest, sweetest people. I've got to tell you. So I can tell you that customer service, 20 out of 10, for real. I'm not going to use this thing right now because you don't want to watch that, but check it out. This Tymo hair curler thing, it's really cool. It's like this brush thing, and supposedly it's really good for your hair. So I'm going to let you know later if it worked because you don't want to watch that live. And we need a Nancy here. So I would love to know how you are doing. How are you doing today? We went live yesterday, and before that, we had a hurricane. And I couldn't see you yesterday. I couldn't see the comments, and now I can, and I can talk to you. And that's what I like about being live. So I'm going to get my friend Nancy on the phone because she is supposed to be here with me right now. And Nancy wrote a book, but it isn't okay. So I've published 4 books. 3 of them are journals, and one of them is like a book. But Nancy's is different. And here's why, because it's interactive. And let's face it, with all the screens and games and YouTube like this, right? We're used to doing things and not just sitting. And so her book is actually an interactive book. And I have hair in my face, and I'm so sorry that looks weird. It's just like, did you ever get that one hair that just drives you crazy? And then I got it and I lost it. I don't even know. I'm going to try to ignore it. There, it's off to the side. Okay. Anyway, you know how when you do a holiday, it doesn't matter what holidays you celebrate, a holiday, and there's families there. You've always got that food, that one food that everybody, Aunt Bethany makes or whatever, and everybody's got to have it. Nobody can make it quite like her because it's so special and whatever, something like that. Or maybe something crazy happened that one Thanksgiving and I don't know, the turkey got wrecked and everybody went to McDonald's, whatever. Her book is those kind of stories. And so she's collecting those. So you get to read some of those as well as fill your own in. You get some of their recipes as well as fill in some of your own special recipes. And so what's really cool is that you fill out this book as you go along, and then it becomes this family heirloom, which is really awesome. Okay, guys, are you ready for this? Okay, if I can do this right. Oh my gosh. I have Nancy. We are going live because you know what? The show must go on. And I am not, oh, but I'm going to take this out of its case, Nancy. Hi, how are you doing? We're going to get real close and personal for a second. Oh my gosh. And also, these nails make it nigh impossible to get phones out of cases. They've gotten a little bit crazy. So my nail girl really wants me to have very long nails. I don't know what her thing is. Okay, look at this. So we have Nancy. I'm going to put my face down here because you can already see. Okay, see, look, she's just as big as me. This is Nancy May. She is also known as Gator Girl. And we've got to find this out. This is very interesting to me. So, Nancy, how did you get the name Gator Girl?
Well, I self-assigned Gator Girl. See, I
That's
am
okay.
originally from New York, Connecticut area. We moved down to Florida, I'd say about not quite 4 years ago. And we've been having a little problems with a builder. And you know what that's like, right?
I
So
absolutely do.
this guy is in for big trouble because he's got a New York, you know what, tied into a Connecticut Yankee, tied into now Gator Girl. He's going to
Uh-oh.
like, oh yeah, like he's in
He's
a
in
trouble.
deep. He doesn't know. He doesn't know who he's messing with. This is
Well,
this woman. If you saw, she has done some incredible business world things. Let me tell you, she has conquered the world a couple of times in her lifetime. And so she is not the person to mess with. I like the name Gator Girl. I like it a lot. Yeah. And so that's what we call this Bite This with Gator Girl because her book is about eating. And also the name seemed interesting. And oh, you have it. And there's
Of
something about having
course.
that book with the stripe across it. You want to tell them what that means? Because if, yeah,
Yeah, so for those of you who have not self-published or published anything on Amazon or anywhere else, I've got a couple books out. The stripe across it is actually the author's copy. This is my proof copy. So it says not for resale. And every other book thereafter will not have that stripe on it. But this is my sort of make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. And I found a few little things that nobody else would notice, but I noticed that needed to be corrected. So it is my opportunity to deal with perfection.
there you go. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to get my hands on a copy of this book. It is
November 1st.
November 1st. That is so exciting. And we'll talk because I'll be on my way to my son's wedding soon after that. But then we're going to have you back on because everyone's going to want to get this for Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate. There are many of them in December, but everybody, almost everybody celebrates a holiday where there's cooking, right?
Valentine's Day. You don't even have to cook to have a really cool food, family, friends related stories. I mean, it could be just an experience at a restaurant. I was telling somebody the other day that my husband and I went to this fancy restaurant in Westchester a number of years ago. That's called Blue Hill on Stone Barns, and you have to wait like 6 months to a year to get a reservation. We just happened to come across it while we were out wandering one Sunday afternoon, and I said, let's go in and see if we can get a reservation. I walked in. They said, well, if you can come on that date, which was like 3 days later at 5 o'clock, you've got a reservation. We're there. And this place is food as theater, and they don't use lights. They just use candlelight. And I came out of the ladies' room and told my husband, I look amazing in candlelight. We are getting rid of all the electricity in our house. We're cutting the cord, only candles.
There we go. Now we know the secret. Well, I don't know. You look gorgeous tonight and you're in real light. So
Yes, I don't
you
realize.
do
But
look
but
beautiful.
anyway, so that's a good story, right? It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be something that you made.
Oh my gosh, Nancy, we were at a restaurant. I don't know where it was. It was a middle of the road, chain kind of restaurant. And it was one of those nights where we went in and they gave us our food and then we got all the appetizers after our meal. And then they gave our credit card and credit card slip to the wrong person. And they were like, "Well, sometimes that's just how it goes." And I was like, "No, that's my credit
No,
card.
no,
What are you
no.
doing?" It was crazy. But anyway, that wasn't a good food story. That was just a food story. But anyway,
Sometimes it's just how you lose a customer. That's all.
exactly. Well, actually, I have never been back to that place. So, what is one of the stories that people have told you that was just a really funny or good or memorable story?
Oh, well, you have one which is in the book. I guess we'll say that for somebody else. But oh God, this is my it's my mother-in-law's story told by my husband. And a number of years ago, before we met, his Aunt Helen, was coming to visit, surprise visit to visit his sister-in-law and brother. And they're not big cooks, but they weren't not expecting it. And Aunt Helen was quite the cook. So we're 5 minutes away or 10 minutes away, whatever it was, and they were coming. So they ran down to the grocery store and they got Swanson's TV dinners and they cooked them all, they unscraped them, put them into family style buckets. And Aunt Helen said that was the best meal she had ever had.
That is so funny. Oh my goodness.
So
You
hey, you never know. A TV dinner could actually be gourmet.
right? You never
And
do
it's a
know.
food store.
This is interesting. I'm looking at it on YouTube and it is fascinating. So to me, it looks like the phone is straight, but there it looks like it's crooked. So I gotta straighten you out, Nancy. Sorry about that. So, but you know what? This is Technology is so bizarre. Like I remember thinking, wouldn't it be neat if you could just call someone and see them? And when I was a kid, we would go to Disneyland and because I lived near Disneyland, and we would go in this booth. And when you all sat in the booth, you could push a button and you could hear the people on the other side. And it was a speakerphone, right? But there weren't speakerphones back then. And we thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And now I just look at what we're doing and I'm like, this just blows my mind, you know?
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
does.
there's just another memory, or the old days of the Dick Tracy cartoons that Dick Tracy would talk and just watch. Like that's so blasé now. I was like, next.
Right? So funny. I know it makes me wonder though, technology is advancing so fast. Okay, so whoever's watching, what do you think is coming next tech-wise? Right? What do you think, Nancy? What do you think is coming next? Because you know that there's going to be something big because there's been a lot of big things that have happened.
One of the things I think is going to happen next is I think holograms are going to turn into something really huge where you might be able to connect with a friend who's in California or in France or China, and you could walk down the street with them as a hologram and they're someplace else in the world. I
Oh
think
my
that would
gosh, I
be really
love that.
cool, right?
Yeah, I love that so much. Hey, Dave, do me a favor. Text Danielle and tell her to come here because I've got a plan to make this better so people don't have to look at my hand and we can see her better. Because we have tripods all over the place. There is no reason why you can't be on a tripod. Because you're about as almost as big as me on the screen, which is really cool. That's what I wanted. And also I love this shirt that you've got going on. This is
This is my Florida shirt, and
yeah.
I think because we're doing the family tree food and stories, I'm gonna have to find shirts with like hot dogs and food on it or something like that. Not like food stains, but like food. Pictures of
Yeah.
food,
Yeah.
apple pie, whatever it is. I'm gonna find something, and of course, it puts a bling on it at the same time.
Absolutely. Because we got to have the bling. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and the earrings. See the earrings? Like we got our family tree, the food
Oh, I
trees. Yeah,
love that. Yeah, see, I
for
don't have
that.
family trees. That is so cool. It
Well,
goes with your thing.
yeah, is that cool?
That is very cool. It is very cool. We gotta have some stuff made on Etsy or something. That's all.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff out there. I mean, I've actually found those. Or you need the cheesehead hat, right?
That's funny.
With a little bling, a little sparkle on it. I don't see that.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Right.
And or a tiara. Somebody was telling me that every woman should have a tiara to wear sometimes. And then it got me to thinking that may be
Oh
something I
no.
do. Not all the time. Just to
Yeah.
have. Not to wear here. That would be ridiculous. I feel like that would put me over
Well,
the edge, maybe a little bit.
over the edge is sometimes good, right? As long as you can be on the edge, just don't be bleeding edge because on that end, it's a little messy.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. Dave said a hologram phone. He said he sees that coming. You know what? That could be a thing. And there's a lot of things that seemed like they couldn't happen. And I had showed Nancy Chat GPT. If you guys have the pro version, you can talk to him or her, whatever. You can make him whatever voice you want. Mine happens to be a English man who is, and it's flawless. This is not a robot. This is hello, Jen. How are
Right.
you doing? I'm sorry that you've been so tired lately. What can we do? It's just crazy. And I didn't tell it I was tired, so I don't know what's going on, which is a little
Yeah,
scary,
mine is
creepy.
George. Mine is George, named after my father-in-law. I thought if it was my dad's name, it would be a little strange, or my mother. But I named it George because George would always come out with some real zingers. Like, we collected all sorts of funky stuff. And he'd say, "You guys get all sorts of garbage and you make it look really good." Like, thank you, George. That's, I think, a
Kind of a
compliment.
compliment, right? Oh my gosh.
My father in law. Yeah.
Yeah, see, now my father-in-law, when Dave was in Iraq, I was pregnant, which that was great timing. And his dad, I'm not a morning person, everyone knows, and he would call me at 7 o'clock in the morning and yell, Reveille, 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 because he had been in the Navy,
Oh, no.
and wake me up. And I'd be like, no, I am pregnant and I literally just fell asleep like 2 hours ago. Please let me sleep. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I had to get pregnant. See what that's like.
Oh my goodness, it's a whole thing. It is a whole thing. But so let's talk food. Are you have you been a cook? Are you a cooking person?
No, no, I'm not a big cook. I have gotten a little bit more creative. I like to bake. I always liked to bake as a kid, and then I got out of it. But I like to experiment. So I watch the cooking shows because they're fine. I'm more on the HGTV stuff. Like how can you do other things?
Yeah,
But that said, cooking is kind of. I hate doing it every day. I hate doing it. It's not my thing.
yeah,
But I've gotten a lot more creative now that we're doing this, and it's kind of fun. I think the sweet, the sour, the salty. What can I add to it? So, what's ever in the refrigerator, I'll throw it together. And the other day, Bob said, "Hey, that's pretty good." And I said, "Yeah, it's your turn to cook next." So, it's a food story, true food story. So before I got married, not that I was a kind of rebel. Didn't want to necessarily get married. If it happened, it happened. Great. If it didn't, it didn't. That's okay too. But my dear friend Diane, that knows since kindergarten, was determined to get me married. So I made Bob, and I thought, okay, two requirements of any man in my life permanently. have to learn how to cook,
Shelves.
but have to know how to cook before I need them. And then has to be able to do laundry. I got both. I was lucky.
There you go. Yeah, you know what? Dave right now is doing all of our cooking and laundry, so I can't complain. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't know. I have to say. So we started dating, and one day we're at his house, and he says, "Let's have mashed potatoes." I said, "Great." I opened the cupboard. I said, "Where's the box?" I grew up with a flaky mashed potatoes, not real mashed potatoes. He said, "Box? Potatoes don't come in a box." So that's
don't
how much of a
need
cook
that
I
little
am,
box.
or I was. I'm a little bit better now.
Yeah. I can make a couple. I can cook. I just hate it. I hate it
Yeah. Well,
with a
I
fiery
follow
passion.
directions, but then I also make sure that the directions are mine. So
I
sometimes
need
they
a little.
don't work.
Well, there you go. And yeah. I don't know what it is. I used to bake. I used to do things for the fair. I was very involved in the fair because I was
Yeah.
in 4-H, and so I did all that stuff. Which okay, man, I'm gonna move Nancy around, guys. I'm getting creative because you know what? I said we were doing this, and we're doing it
And
right
we're
now
doing it. Yeah.
because we're doing it. We're maybe doing it strange, but it's okay. All right, now what I'm wondering is this is not okay. We're gonna do this.
I feel like Nancy Headroom. Like Max Headroom.
Oh my gosh. So have you ever seen a show called Eureka?
No, I haven't.
Oh, Nancy. Okay, guys, everybody. Eureka is the show. Okay, what am I doing? I don't know. I'm going to move you over here. There is a way I can do this, but it is going to be strange. Um, Eureka is a show, and it's the premise is. I'm just throwing that out of the way. The premise is that it's this scientific community run by the top scientists of the world. And they all come to this one town in Eureka. It's like in Idaho or something. And it's like got the security stuff. You can't get
California. I
in and
think
out.
it's Eureka, California.
Something like that. And so these people come and they do all these incredible things. And Dave, is it on Prime? I think it's on Prime. It is so cool because they talk about, I don't know. It's just it's a geek show. It is, but we
So
really
they're doing cool things. They're not doing stupid things like stupid pit tricks.
No, they're doing really cool things. And like
Oh, I'm gonna watch it.
what's
I'm gonna watch it.
the really cool part of it, and we're watching it for a second time because we watched it with our older kids. And I'm sorry if you're shaking, guys. I'm trying to keep my hands still. I tried to get a tripod and it's too short. And well, maybe we can make it. I'm still trying to figure this out. Anyway, they put a sheriff in there and because they need to keep order, and he's kind of dumb. He's not really dumb, but he's dumb enough to ask the questions that those people don't have to ask. And I couldn't figure out why he was there, and then I realized, oh, it's for the audience. So he asked the questions that the audience would ask, right? But they have this thing, and it's called the artifact, and it's down on level 5, and you have to wonder, like, what is the artifact? And it kind of seems like maybe it's kind of like God, you know what I mean? Because I don't know, it's the beginning of the universe. It's a whole thing. Anyway, and they do these crazy things, and then they almost kill everybody on the planet because they're having these wild whatever.
And they
It's
are scientists.
and they're scientists, but it's not like I'm not a creepy show person. I am really weird with what I can watch. Also, there is nobody talking, which is really strange.
I
I've
don't think anybody's on here. I
never
think
had
it's
that
just
happen. We do have people on here, but nobody's chatting with us.
I couldn't sign in. The only way I tried to chat with you, I couldn't sign in. It said I had to be a subscriber. And
Well, okay. So, and I do apologize if you're watching and you want to talk. Yeah, we do. We have 10 people right now. But if you want to chat, the reason that we have it set that you have to be a subscriber is that we have had some really foul, nasty, dirty little minded people very dirty minded people leaving lots of nasty, nasty chats. And so we've had to make it so that you have to be a subscriber to talk because we were getting some really gross things. In fact, my husband was at the hospital and he wanted something to focus on. And so we went live at our regular time from the hospital. And I was sitting on his bedside and he was moderating my chat and people were being gross then.
oh, that's not right. I
And
mean, come on,
no,
really?
it was really nasty. And so I have a partner manager at YouTube, that is encouraging us to do these live streams. And so I said, I like this, Carol, but I need help. And so she said, do this and this. And so I did. And so there we go. And so it's kind of a bummer that you have to be a subscriber to comment, but it does make people not get sassy.
You know, I I have to tell you, and this might be a really trick for a bunch of other people, but a number of years ago, we had one of those, dark clouds that enter your life. The
Yeah.
boyfriend of a friend, and I mean, really dark cloud. This guy was ultimately ended up being a creep, and he caused some problems on New Year's Eve on the phone. And I won't go into detail, but basically he ended up stalking us on the phone for like 48 hours. So that New Year's Eve, Bob and I decided that, you know what, New Year's resolutions are meant to get rid of dark clouds. So every New Year's Eve, we look at, and sometimes in between, we look at the dark clouds in our life and say, you know what, there's just no room in our lives for you. And we get rid of them. We just ghost them, say no, don't answer phone calls, whatever it is, to just remove that dark cloud or that rock from your life. And it's hard. It's not easy to do. But I gotta tell you, the first time we did it, we both felt like 1,000,000,000 pounds was lifted off our shoulders and we felt so much better. I felt sorry for my friend who was stuck with this guy. But,
Yeah.
he ended up with in a really bad spot. And she hopefully is better.
Hey, Alexa. Alexa's here. I am so excited. Yeah, tonight's stream, I don't know. It was missing for a little while. I couldn't even see it. So I don't know what's happened, but I'm glad that you're here. No, don't worry about being late. This is Nancy. She's a friend of mine. We're having a little bit of a tech thing, but we're making it happen. And so Nancy is here. Honestly, I feel like, okay, so on my other channel, I have a Paul Harvey channel. What we do is we take his videos and we put them in a TV and we make it look like it's on a scene. And so really this kind of looks like something I feel like it looks like something I set up on purpose to make you look like this. So we're going to go with we wanted this to happen this way and that's how it's going. And so there we go. And so this is
And that's
Nancy
the
May.
rest of the story, right?
And right, it is going to be a heck of a story. And I'm going to go in and talk to all my people in my boot camp and say, "Hey, you know what? This is what we can do if we need to. You just have to have a second phone. Um, that's the secret, really, or somebody in
Hey,
your house that has one."
can I ask a question or can I share something?
Yeah,
Because we just launched our podcast as well, if it's all right to mention that.
please, yes.
So the podcast is you go to podcast.familytreefoodstories and .com and you can go get it there. So it's Family Tree Food Stories is the podcast. And the second podcast that was launched, we had launched three, is kind of like a Paul Harvey story because it's only 5 minutes long and you listen to it and then you kind of wonder what the rest of the story is. And then at the end, it's like, oh, that's the best. I mean, you have to listen to
Oh,
it.
that's so
It's
cool.
yeah, it's like famous last foods is what it's basically called. Or I think it's called. I forgot what the name of it. I should know. It's the favorite food of a lifetime.
Oh, that is
And I
really
think
cool.
that's what it is.
I like that. I like that a lot. And Dave, we absolutely can have 2 people live streaming because Todd and I live streamed together back in August, and
Yeah,
it lets me invite somebody. So it is a thing that can be done. Unfortunately, it wasn't a thing that could be done today, and there was a space for her, but it was totally dark. So this is better. We need to see her face. So for those of you that just joined us, this is Nancy. She is a dear, dear friend of mine. We have known each other for years through the podcasting industry, and she just wrote an incredible book that is coming out in November, and it should be on everybody's gift list. There you go. If you have got well, for yourselves, yes, but also aunts, moms, grandmas, whatever, who can fill this book in with all of their wonderful stories and the recipes that you're going to want. Because let me tell you, I can tell you a food story. Can I tell a food story, Nancy? Oh, wait.
absolutely. Go right ahead.
No, no. Well, you've got your book. My story can wait because you got it pulled up.
No, no. I was just sharing some pictures. So
Oh,
we
share the
really what we're
pictures.
doing is we're teaching you how to think of stories that relate around food and family and friends. And there's nothing better than a really great meal with somebody that you care about, or think about the meals that you had that maybe somebody you didn't care about. Or I was talking to somebody the other day. Said there's nothing. I'm a glass snob, a wine glass snob. So I hate glasses that have that bubble rim on the edge, and unless it's a perfect clean sharp cut, I really don't enjoy drinking the glass of wine in it. But I do collect that. I've got a wine glass that's got it's a it's an octopus in the bottom.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that.
octopus. I say the octopus is the spirit animal of the entrepreneur because we have 8 arms. We have lots of suckers to grab on things with. If you lose an arm, another one grows back. You got more than one brain. And just for you, Jen, because you're into bling, you know what? You can change your outfit in the pulse of a rock going around the corner.
There you go. I love that so much. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Yes, and I
So,
love octopi. They're very cool. But I gotta tell you this food story because it's gonna leave my brain. And this is for
and
those
don't
of
eat
you.
the octopus. Don't eat the octopus. No.
Well, we do, yeah, well, we do that. But okay, for those of you watching, the reason that you're gonna want this book that is coming out is, and with this food stories, is this. I'm gonna tell you a story. Don't tell my ex and his family. Okay, that's okay. They're not watching. So my mother-in-law was Polish. Well, I'm part Polish, and she would make chicken soup and kluskis. And oh my gosh, so it means dumplings, right? But these aren't your typical dumplings like you would picture. These aren't the soft, fluffy dumplings, like American people eat. These are like rocks. They are solid rocks, and they are really, but they're so good, and I love them so much. And now I can't have gluten. I'm trying to figure this out, but no one would sit with her and do the recipe because it was one of those things where you go to a little of this and a little of that, and everyone's like, "Man, I don't have time for that." And I'm like, "Oh, I have time for that because this is an important family food, and everybody needs this food. We need this recipe." And I sat with her for a whole day, and it was, and I would kind of estimate, 2 or 3 of this and 4 or 5 of that, and whatever, pinch of this, whatever. And then I practiced so much, and then she died. And guess what?
Oh,
Everyone wanted the recipe. But guess what? I did not give it to them because if you did not sit with her and take the time that she needed to spend time with people, and she was so sad and lonely, then guess what? Her recipe died with her, as far as you're concerned. And so I still make it to this day, but guess what? They don't. So there you go. And then maybe that's mean. It's mean. It's spiteful. I should probably give the recipe, but I'm not going to because it's mine.
somebody told me that sourdough doesn't have the gluten that regular dough. So you might want to try making sourdough.
Yeah, no, it still
It's
has wheat.
as thinkers. Yeah.
See, we
Yeah.
were thinking
Yeah.
that if we went to Europe, because their food is so much cleaner, not a thing.
Yeah.
I still ate it though. I ate lots of it. The food was so good. Oh, Nancy, with food stories, you and I should. Okay, another food story. This is Nancy's. This is Nancy gave us this food story because we were going to Europe and my son really, really wanted to go in the Eiffel Tower really bad. And the tickets were sold out because we didn't know that in Europe you need tickets for things ahead of time because in America we want to go, we go. No, 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 not in France. And so I was talking to Nancy and she's like, Jen, why don't you have lunch in the Eiffel Tower? And I said, is that even a thing? And it was. And we got some of the last tickets and we got to go up and our son was terrified just to get to the restaurant. So it's actually a good thing we didn't go all the way up, but it was fancy, fancy schmancy, and we have pictures, and they were kind of sassy and rude and mean, and we paid for a ticket by the window and they didn't give us one, and they weren't going to. And you know what? We took a picture to make it look like we had one and we were fine. And the food was so good. So thank you for that amazing recommendation.
You're
Dave
welcome.
just
There's
said it
nothing.
was amazing. Yeah.
One of the really fun things when you're in France, and you probably did it, is to be able to have breakfast sort of on the street and just watch all the people go by. You're
Mhm.
having breakfast and you're watching them get their baguettes or doing whatever, and you know,
There is nothing like it. And for my children, there's nothing like eating French fries in France. And it was
oh,
so funny because I was a teenager when I went for the first time, and that was the highlight of well, that and the outdoor cafes. Um, and that was, yeah, they hit McDonald's. My daughter travels to a lot of countries with my older daughter, and that is her goal to get to McDonald's in every country. But
so I did the same thing. We went to McDonald's and by the Tuileries in Paris, and he had to have a McDonald's burger and the McDonald's French fry and the mayonnaise. I mean, they eat French fries with mayonnaise, not ketchup,
right.
typically. The
Also,
McDonald's little packet of mayonnaise was different than ours, and it was so
it's
good. I
so
mean, who
good.
would have thought?
And
It
the
was
McCafes there are cafes. It's a bakery. And so the one in Rome, oh my gosh, because we can't have gluten, they wrapped it in butter lettuce. It was the patty, and then they had like they a full-on bakery. Oh my gosh, the Rome one was it was incredible for a McDonald's. I mean, the taste is the same for a lot of the stuff, but just oh, so good. But not like eating lunch in the Eiffel Tower. If you have the
Yeah.
chance, then it's definitely the thing to do. So,
You know what? I am really fascinated by how beautiful food can be displayed. And I had gone on sort of a mom daughter trip, business trip with my mom. It was my business, and all the women at this International Women's Forum that I belonged to would bring their daughters over time, adult daughters early in their career. Well, I don't have kids. So I called my mom one day and I said, Mom, the next big meeting's in Rome. You want to come? I thought she'd think about it. Like, I didn't even take a breath. And she said, I'm there. So we went to Rome, and she was tired on one of the side trips. We went on down the Amalfi Coast. And so she's hanging out with the tour guide, and I'm touring all around Sorrento or wherever we were at the time. And the tiny little streets that you wander up, and there's this guy, and he's putting out all the fresh fish on this ice on the side corner of this street. I mean, nobody else was there but me and the guy putting out everything. And it was the most beautiful. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the most gorgeous food I've ever seen in my life. Not that I wanted to eat it, but it was just like it was a palate for the eyes, let's put it that way. And he said, would you like to meet our chef? And I said, I would. So the chef came out with a brand new tiramisu he had made, and he took my picture. And that made my day, because it was the beauty of the art of the package. It wasn't even packaging. It was just
right?
laying out of the beautiful fresh fish and vegetables on ice on the Amalfi Coast. It was
That's
fabulous.
amazing. Also, Paige is here. Paige has joined us. Hello, Paige friend. We love you so much. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. And Lex is here. And we only have Mods and Paige talking right now because you have to be a subscriber. We've had a lot of other people talking in the past. But it's just one of those things. And so if you've just stopped by, the reason you have to be a subscriber to talk in the chat is because we've had a little bit of a rough go with some nasty people that left some kind of a nasty man convention and stop by to say something. So I apologize for that. But this Nancy, we hold up your book, and Dave, can you put a link to her book? It is. She'll tell you in
Well,
a
the
minute,
book's not available. The book's
or the
not available
podcast.
yet.
Sorry,
It's right. I put a link to the podcast, which is podcast.familytreefoodstories.com, and you can get that.
that is so cool.
And
Yeah.
then,
So
and then this is the book. And Paige, I know Paige is on the beach. Well, one of my favorite foods on the beach is fried belly clams. Oh my God, to die for. Oh,
there you go.
amazing.
Yeah,
With tartar sauce. Not
that's
ketchup.
awesome.
Not ketchup. Not
It's
ketchup.
podcast dot family tree food stories. Did I get that right?
I will double check because I'm still new to this one. So let me double check.
And yeah, and we'll just put that in there.
Yeah, podcast on familytreefoodstories.com.
And
Yes.
if you are a person who eats food, you're going to like this book. Or if you're not a book person, someone in your life will like it. And I know I sound like I'm trying to sell it. I'm really not trying to sell it. It's just it sells itself. It's just amazing. It's not even for sale yet. So I'm not, whatever, but it's going to be
You
fun.
know what would be really fun for families to do, and they could do the
Dave, that's
holidays
not
or
it,
any
baby.
times. Yeah, one of the fun things when we do is
I'll
just
send
sit
it.
down with your entire family, like kids and everybody. Like, what are the kids' stories? Like, what kind of ideas the kids have around food? From peanut butter and jelly to, I don't know, big old hot dogs. Who knows what it is?
Oh my gosh.
Maybe their food stories are different than yours.
I have
It'd
got
be funny. It'd be funny to hear.
my sons were into YouTube when it was first out. I mean, it was first, because they were teenagers back, a while
Yeah.
ago. And so, there was all kinds of ridiculousness, which there still is, but I don't know. It was I want to say safer, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, there was this guy that they followed, and they made a fast food lasagna. And so for several Christmases, until we decided, you have to stay in line for forever at Christmas Eve to get things, but you had to get hamburgers from different places, and you would layer them with barbecue sauce and onion rings and French fries. Dave, add anything else that I'm missing, and you would bake it all together. And it was very good. It was very expensive, and on Christmas, very time consuming to get. But we did it because, your teenage sons are really hard to make happy, and we did what we could. So
That was the ultimate
thank you,
happy
Dave.
meal. Ha ha. Right.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but then the last Christmas we did it, we were in line for like an hour and a half to get 6 burgers or something. So we're like, sorry guys. From now on, Christmas is ours. But you know what we
Yeah.
should do? We should do it with that's the son that's getting married next month. We should go out and get all the stuff. Oh, that would be so much fun.
That would would be fun. Why not? I mean, it's a memory that you guys have, and he remembers it, I'm sure. I mean, food is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be serious.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and we also like board games, and so my younger children wanted to play games with him when we go out for the wedding, and I said, "You know, they're gonna be wedding prep and all that," and he's so I called him and he said, "No, no, no, mom. Actually, at our reception, we're gonna do the normal things, and then we're bringing stacks of board games, and that's gonna be their wedding reception." So we do get to play board games with
Twister,
them.
brain
Oh
twister.
my goodness. So we play a game
Okay.
called Munchkin that is like no game you've ever played. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons light, and we really, really like it. Yes, Paige, there's so many food stories around the holidays. And that's why I think, having this book come out right before the holidays is so brilliant because and it has recipes in it, right? Does it have recipes?
No, we have links to recipes you can actually get. So I wrote the book with Sylvia Lovely as my co-author and colleague on this, but we have two stories about our grandmothers and recipes. And so we include those in the back. There's a link to get those if you want. But this is really all about the people that are part of it use this. We have
I love it.
tons of tiny little stories in there. Each chapter, each section of a menu, whether it be an appetizer to dessert to holidays to sauces and other soups, whatever that might be, is all about you guys. And you can put pictures of your family in there, who grandma was, what she did. Maybe it wasn't great. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was a neighbor who had something. I've got some great ideas and food stories, including some recipes that we had with friends, including a little too much wine every now and then.
Yeah, those do tend to be stories for sure.
There's always a story around that. Or we had a friend who's had these I guess the pit bull mixes, although she said they were boxer mixes. I think they were pit bull mixes. The dogs were used to steal butter, whole pounds of butter off the counter and loaves of bread in peg grabbers. And they go in to get the bread and it was gone. The whole counter was clean. These two dogs. So
Oh my gosh.
the dogs have their food stories too.
Yeah, we went up, oh my goodness, to Chicago to see my cousin oh my gosh, many, many moons ago. And it was for Thanksgiving, and her little girl went and got the butter and molded it with her hand. It just had all these she was like 3, and they just left it on the table. And that was the
Uh,
only butter we had for Thanksgiving. So we did not eat the butter because it was
I
very
say,
specially crafted.
yeah, yeah, no. There's some. Speaking of butter, there's some amazing butters that people can make with all sorts of herbs in them, and you put like flowers on top that you would be edible flowers. But we had a butter story. There was a restaurant in Westport, Connecticut that we used to like to go to where we lived, and they made the most amazing herb infused butter. And we would go in and forget sitting there and have dinner after a while. We said, could we just buy like a solo cup of butter? They would say, "Here, we're not even going to sell it to you. You like it so much, you can take it." So they'd fill up this big cup of butter for us, and
Oh,
we'd leave.
wow. That's
Yeah,
so
it was
cool.
it was really good. So
Like Lexa said she would have said something because she's that person. You know, Lexa, okay, at this point, I would definitely say something. Back then, I didn't say anything about anything. Anybody could, whatever. But now, yeah, I have found my voice again. I had a voice, and then I lost it for a while because I was told I had to shut up, and so I did for some reason. And now all the words that I had held in are all coming out all at once. So poor Dave. I'm sorry, Dave,
I'm like a
but
boat of gravy.
it is. There's something. Oh my goodness. Also, okay, I have to point out, I have balloons back there. If you see the balloons, and I'm very excited because they are to celebrate. So if you don't know, I just have to say, I got some awards, and it's very cool. And my husband is so good, and he popped champagne and bought a trophy and gave me balloons. And the balloons were today. He came home tonight after his class, and yeah, brought me balloons.
I'm so
So
happy to be here to celebrate with you too. And like I'm honored to be a
it's
guest in
very
the
exciting.
celebration. I should.
Just it's been a
I
crazy
have
day. I've gotten all kinds of
whatever.
emails. People want me to do all kinds of things now all of a sudden. "Hey, guess what? We want to feature you. Hey, we want you to come on." And I'm like, "Well, although you wouldn't talk to me before, but that's okay." It's very I'm interested to see what happens this week, you know?
You get a chance to be choosy.
I do, and it's kind of exciting, you know? I mean, I was already really excited about my little curling thing that I got that I opened up, and the fact that I got a oh my gosh, Nancy, I got a SD card. It was my first. Oh, look at. Okay, I'll show you. Hold on.
I saw that. I saw that the other day.
And
I
then
saw
this
it. Yeah.
postcard. Okay, and I'm not gonna lie, like this postcard meant so much to me, and so like the award, like oh my god, that was just yeah, so funny. But anyway, but yeah, I'm
Sometimes those
glad you.
little notes mean so much more to us than anything else because somebody has taken the time to actually put their thoughts and their appreciation down on paper, and we don't do that anymore.
No, people don't do that anymore. They
No.
don't. We need to do that more often. I know. I have a note in my phone to send my older kids a letter every month. And am I doing it? I'm not doing it. And they need it. They do. Everybody does. There is
So
just
I
something
have a
about
letter
getting those.
story.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
I
Tell
share
me a
a
letter
letter
story.
story?
Yeah.
So I took care of my folks from 1,200 miles away. I was in Connecticut. They were down here in Florida, and they were older. And my dad was, I would say he was lonely, but he was so devoted to my mom and couldn't get out after a while. He didn't drive. And so he was somewhat homebound. So as a kid, I went to go to camp, or I went to camp. I loved camp as a kid. And mom and dad would send me letters at camp. You could never read my father's handwriting. It would be like the whole cabin would have to figure out what dad said. And it was half the fun, right? Figuring out what he said. And he always said, "Love you lots, dad," would always sign it. So I decided as I got older and he needed some company that I would send him once a week a reverse letters from camp. So I was working up, working up the city in New York, and I would take pictures everywhere I went, whether it was morning, in wintertime. I had some guy who said, "Want me to take a picture of you in front of Rockefeller Center?" I thought, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. He says, "Got to go to run off my phone." But he didn't. He took a nice picture and I sent it. And I always include the photos of what was going on and some little note. And every week, dad would get a letter with photos of what happened during my week and the purpose of what was going on and how things I remembered that we did as kids. So I called those letters from camp. So dad got letters from camp, and the aides kept all of them. I had like four
Oh,
three-ring binders filled with those things. Not that I didn't keep them on my computer, but they turned into like sort of like little newsletters, and he
yeah.
loved reading them. And so that's my letters from camp to dad.
Oh my gosh, I love that. All right, if you're watching, okay, for those of you watching, this is a good idea. And also, if you're an adult child and you have parents that are living, reach out to them and give them a call. It's not the same to get a text when you're over a certain age, right, Nancy?
Send them a letter. Don't call them.
Send
Send them a
send them
letter
a
with a
letter
photo.
with
Yeah.
and it's funny because they always ask me, like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "I want the same dorky things I wanted when you were little, like, make me a card. Make me a card and send it." Like, that would make me so happy because really it's the time, right? It's the time that I know that you spent, and, I don't care if it's after my birthday, whatever, just the idea that. But honestly, a call.
And it works. My mom preferred calls. She didn't say it, but she loved hearing the calls. When dad passed and I sent her cards, she was like, "What is she doing this?" Like, okay, I guess I won't go buy the cards. But I also sent thank you notes every time the aides got paid. Every single one of them. We had 6 to 8, depending upon how many were there and what the shifts were, and every one of them got a thank you note for the work that they did and some praise and something that they did special that week for my folks and that I appreciated. And at the end, they all said that they kept every single one. I was shocked. They kept those notes. So, it doesn't need to be a lot. It just one or two little handwritten notes. It could be a line or two to say thank you. I appreciate you. That's it.
Yeah, Paige said if she got letters like that from her kids, she'd be floored. But can I continue with the caregiving? Oh
Yeah, yeah.
my goodness. So in the last couple of years, things have been different in healthcare. I'll just leave it at that. And you all know why. And so I had a doctor on and she had told us all this stuff about, how difficult it is for doctors right now because so many of them have quit and there's not enough and you feel like you're not getting very good health care, but also they're so
Medical.
overworked. Oh, yes, you can talk about that too. But when Dave was in the hospital, he was there for 8 days, and there was 2 shifts a day, and so I would bring a candy, like a big bag of candy and a vegetable plate, because you don't know, some people like the sugar and some people like to be healthy, and every shift where we brought them treats for his nurses, every shift, he was treated so well. Y'all, it doesn't take that much. I mean, it cost me like $15 a shift, which was worth it. The shifts that I did not bring treats, not very nice. It was not very nice. And it's not because they're horrible, it's because they're so overworked and there are so few nurses for the patients they have. And so instead of going in there and complaining, we went in there saying, "We understand. We're here to help you in whatever way we can." And they just appreciated it. And if you
I
are
did the same thing, and it's a food story, right? I did the same thing with my dad. He had his 99th birthday in the hospital. We got him
wow.
out that day, but it was his last day there. And I brought in dinner, I brought in fried chicken, I brought in a box of Joe and I donut munchkins because they're easier to like grab and go when you're
Yeah.
busy. And they had breakfast, lunch, and dinner on me. And the nurses station would say, "Do you think I had to bring my laptop because I was always working as well?" And they said, "Can you like set up shop here when your dad leaves because we don't want you to go."
Aw. Yeah,
And they
because
got him a fabulous cake and they sang him happy birthday for his 99th.
aw.
Just so yeah.
That is so cool that he was 99. And Nancy does have another book that is brilliant because I do have a copy. Before You Have an Emergency. And what's it called, Nancy?
How to survive 911 medical emergencies, a step by step guide before, during, and after. And you go to howtosurvive911.com. It shows you what to do just so that you don't get stuck. I mean, literally, people don't have their street addresses or numbers on their houses. And an emergency vehicle is not going to be able to find you and knock on the neighbor and say, "Is that number one or number two?" I
Yeah.
mean, seriously. It doesn't work that way. And we had an EMT paramedic trainer who helped us review the book after it was written and put some notes into it for us. And when I went to drop off a copy of it, I couldn't find her house because she didn't have the numbers on her house or on her mailbox in a rural environment. I said, "Karen, where are you?" She said, "Well, everybody knows where I am." I said, "Staff changes over." Not necessarily.
Yeah.
So, and we even have how to call 911 when the 911 system goes down. And anybody who's been here in Florida in the recent hurricanes, it does go down. That's like,
Oh my gosh. So because I used to live in LA, I called 911 because the car next to me was on fire in traffic and there was
yeah,
nowhere to go. And do you know that after 20 minutes of being on hold, it disconnected
yeah.
me? Because there's so many emergencies that they cannot keep up. So this is a really good thing to have in advance, guys. So check it out. And it's on Amazon too, isn't it? Is your book on
It
Amazon?
is on Amazon. It's got a 5-star review. It's a very quick, easy read. There are a lot of checklists, so it's not something you have to read with sort of somberness. It's like, oh my god, I really need to think about this. So yeah, communities when
Yeah.
we were kids used to do the emergency, preparedness days,
Yeah.
and the entire neighborhood would have like the fire alarms going off, and you were supposed to meet at a tree or some designated spot in your outside of your house and meet your own home family, so that if you knew that there was going to be an emergency, you always knew where to find your parents or somebody else or how to get help. And the first time I ever called 911 was a little scary. Like I didn't know whether I should. It was a fire that was taking place on top of a pole. I was
Oh wow.
out jogging one afternoon in Boston and seeing this fire, and they said, "No, we're glad you called because it was getting pretty big." Yeah.
Wow. Also, you know what? Speaking of all emergency stuff, it's a really, really good idea to have somebody outside of your area that you would contact in an emergency if cell phones and everything went down. How would your family contact each other if there were no cell phones? Because you need to get a hold of everyone and make sure they're okay. And so it's always a really good idea to have one person in a different location that everyone knows they contact that person if they can't get anyone else. Just this is your PSA for today. Be safe ahead
And
of the
have a
emergency.
fire extinguisher in your kitchen just in case you burn the tree.
And they have cans now. We got cans. It's just like a
Yeah,
hairspray can. It makes
yeah.
it so much easier. So kids can do it if there's a problem because we have oxygen machines here, and apparently they're a little flammable. So we have to have several.
Yeah, always keep them by a door.
Yes, not on the other side. So, when we moved into our house, are you ready for this? You went into a little doorway to get into the kitchen, and there was a counter. It wasn't even a foot. It was like 6 or 8 inches, and then the stove, and then you went into the kitchen. So, if the stove caught fire, you could not get into the kitchen to put it out. And if someone was in there, you couldn't. Well, yeah, but so when I redid the kitchen, I moved the stove and yeah,
Yeah,
that just was not smart.
yeah, and have more than one fire extinguisher and know how to use it. So
Yeah.
that's people think that they don't use it. I have to tell a funny story. When I went to college, my folks made sure, well, as kids, my folks made sure that my sister and I had those ladders that you could throw at the window just in case you had to escape. So they insisted that I take this ladder to college with me. So I was probably the only college freshman through senior who had one of those ladders you could throw out the window in case of an emergency.
Yeah, but you know
Never
what?
had to use it.
As you
Never had
needed
to use
it,
it, but yeah,
everyone would have been in
but
your
just in
room.
case I had one, yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, it is 9:56. We have talked for a solid hour. And if anybody has any questions, Lexa, I don't know if you saw her, it's Family Tree Food and Stories. It is going to be incredible. I've heard all about it, and it's going to be an incredible gift for people. That's the thing, because it's one of those gifts that's going to encourage discussion. And we need more discussion. We need more
And
things that
fun.
encourage discussion.
It's gonna be a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's happy times, and maybe you can actually shed a few tears because not every food story is happy, but they're memorable. And the podcast familytreefoodstories.com.
There we go. Oh my goodness, it's almost 10.
It's a
Apparently,
wrap.
I'm going to turn into a pumpkin in a minute. Oh my goodness. I got up early this morning because I'm trying to get my body to get up early, and it was
Yes,
not happy,
it's
but
a
I
good
did
thing.
it. I did it. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, what else is coming up for you, Nancy? Anything else? It's kind of a
Oh,
lot.
let me think. Well, other than the podcast, we're doing a podcast on Halloween on haunted eating establishments.
Ooh, there you go. That'll be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, that's gonna be fun, and we've got a lot of cool things tied up. So
Very cool. We are going on a
exciting.
family retreat that starts on Halloween. So that's my children are not pleased that that's when we're going, but they're going to be with friends and they can dress up. So I feel like that'll be fun. And I've got the ultimate dress, and if I have room for it, I am going to bring it. It is a 17th century Regency gorgeous dress that I
Oh,
love. And I love dressing up in that time period stuff. I do have three dresses, but two of them are more peasants. Okay, four. Three of them are more peasants.
you're not a peasant.
No, this other one is black and gold and absolutely gorgeous. Although technically it's half mourning because it's black, but I don't care. I really liked it too much, so I bought it anyway. So there we go. But
White used to be the color of mourning.
that's true. That is true.
Uh,
And until very recently, pink was the color for boys and blue was the color for girls.
I did not know that.
That is a thing. And boys would wear dresses, like little boys would wear dresses, like they'd put them in dresses. Because I know, like my grandparents, we see the pictures, and they all ran around. It's just easier, diapers and all that stuff. So you know, but yeah, okay. So
This
I'm
has been
looking.
so much fun, Karen. Thank you.
It has been a lot of fun, and thank you guys for coming. Dave was saying, yes, send your kids picture or mail with an actual stamp. Paige said she'd hit the floor if her kids did that, so I think they definitely should. Lexa loves cookbooks, and we love all of you. Thank you for coming and joining us because you know what? Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Well, Lexa, you're welcome. Yeah, I just love you so much, and I'm glad that you were here. You would love Nancy. Oh my goodness, she is a hoot. And we will share the links to all your stuff in the description. And people will be able to well, it's almost November 1st already. So it's coming
Right.
up soon.
We have a Christmas story that we're going to record tomorrow. It's not going to go out to Christmas time, but just an inside hint. Do you actually know that you can eat your Christmas tree?
I did not know that.
There's a story behind that one. I'll
Good
tell you
night,
later.
Paige.
Listen to the podcast.
Wow. Yeah, there we go. That is definitely something worth tuning in for. That is incredible. Paige says good night. Good night, Paige. We love you. Thank you so much, everybody, for showing up and for visiting with us and sticking around. And I hope that you learned something new because I know that I did. I learned that we can eat a Christmas tree. And if you want to know how, you got to listen to the podcast, Family Tree Food and Stories, and you're going to learn all kinds of great things. And, you may get a chance to go on the show and tell your own story. So
That's right.
there you go. Leave a message in the comments if you have one. We love you. Mwah. I will see you all soon. Thank you, Nancy, for joining us the old-fashioned way. She called in. Right, there we go. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
I love you all.